like to welcome everyone and thank you so much for being here. As you know, this is called Join Us Tuesdays for Present Happiness. And you can only really truly be happy in the present because, as he says, real happiness is doing God's will. And we can only join with God and share one will in the present. So it happens to be that we named this months ago, I guess, a couple of months ago, and it happens to be the truth. And I'm going to start off by just sharing a little about John Mundy, because I know a lot of you do know John, and a lot of you contact me during the day and ask how John is doing. John is doing well, by the way. Now, that said, today he admitted he's not leaving the hospital for probably, it could be anywhere for 3-4 weeks. If you know the story, he first got Lyme disease, which really compromised his system. And even though he's vaccinated, he then, because his system was weakened by the Lyme, he did also contract COVID. And to make it all a little worse than just COVID and Lyme, they diagnosed him as having pneumonia as well. That was like a week ago. And I can only tell you since then, he's been getting stronger every day. When you talk to him, his voice is full of energy. You can actually hear it. I'm very good on voices. So I actually hear the energy stronger every single day. So I know that he's going to be out. He wants to get home. And as it happens, his wife, Dolores, right now also has COVID. So he can't really go home. Can't really be together with Dolores. But that is part of what he's going through as whatever John is going through. As if you know John, you know that I think it was 15, 20 years ago, he was given a death sentence by his doctor. I don't know, it was brain cancer, but it was cancer. It was a death sentence. And we all know that he rose from the dead, and he laughs about that a lot. And I know that he's going to be laughing about this as well. I really do. That all said, if there's any thoughts, any questions, anyone want to contact me further, you can always just reach me at ACIMgather, the number 7 at gmail.com. Okay. Rosalyn asked me, do we have a topic for today? And I said, this is going to be my topic for almost everything I do. I'm going to be on Jennifer Hadley next Sunday afternoon at 3:00 on Jennifer's Sunday program. It's going to be the same topic. It came to me that that's the only topic that's really worth talking about. It's called Trust the Truth. And the second line is because there's no other truth. Now, for me, over the many years, I spent more than 40 years doing the course. I realized that trust is really what this course is about. One of my favorite sayings is God says, son, I don't want you to try harder. I want you to trust deeper, deeper. And, there is that wonderful line, chapter 26, section 8, paragraph 2. He says, trust would settle every problem now. And that's because we are perfectly cared for. Some of you may remember I did a presentation on Bill Free and Lisa Natoli last June, and the topic was, you are perfectly cared for. But do you trust it? Truth is, and we're talking about trust the truth here, truth is you are perfectly cared for. In fact, there's this one line in trust, I think it's in paragraph 2 of the 10 characteristics of God's teachers, the only one that we are responsible for is trust. And there's 6 paragraphs or 6 steps to trust. But before you even get to the 6, he says in paragraph 2, he says, God's teachers have trust in the world because they have recognized it is not governed by the laws that the world made up, which is the ego's laws. It's governed by a power that is in us, but not of us. So God's safety shield, his grace, the grace of God, his blessing surrounds not only the Son of God that we are, but also our classroom that this is. The world is not what 2 + 2 = 4 says it is. You know, it's this wonderful place, 3 planets in from the sun. No, as Ken Wapnick likes to say, don't trust anyone who speaks in a 2 + 2 = 4 logic, because that is not the truth. You got to go to 2 + 2 = 5, because even though it sounds illogical here in the ego's world, God did not create this world. In fact, in my birthday lesson 132, it says there is no world. So I was going to say, in the 40+ years that I've been doing this, I realized that there's many levels of truth as you do this course. Ken Wapnick used to call it finding the right ladder with the right teacher. Finding the right ladder is basically saying, okay, I'm here to do the course. Now, the ego likes to do the course too, by the way. The ego loves the course because it knows that Jesus actually knows better than it does, so it learns so many concepts. But learning concepts is not really what the course is about. I mean, concepts is like going to a great restaurant, getting a great menu, and no one ever serves you the food. You want to have the experience of trust the truth. And most of you know there's that wonderful line in Lesson 152, only the truth is true and nothing else is true. That's where that line comes from. Trust the truth because there's no other truth. If you want anything other than trust the truth, you want to go into your belief system, and we all know that every belief has a lie right in the center. So you might say this world, if you're on the wrong ladder, not on the ladder that Jesus gives to you, you're into a belief system that you probably use for survival. That's what the ego wants, basically. Its purpose is to survive, whereas Spirit's purpose is to remember the truth. And that's what we're here for on Join Us Tuesdays, is to remember the truth. You know, there's that old saying, I think back when United Nations first started, it says, you know, if you teach a person to fish, they'll eat. Excuse me. If you give a person a fish every day, they get to eat every day. But if you teach them how to fish, they can always eat. They don't need you to teach them how to fish. And I think that that's what I look to do, is to give you the big picture, including all those rungs on the ladder. Because the first couple of rungs on the ladder for me was, okay, I'm peaceful. Isn't that wonderful? You know, I don't get roiled up or I don't get my buttons pushed. But that's the lower rungs on the ladder, but it's very useful, as everybody knows. Nobody wants to have their buttons pushed and react. And I'm going to speak a little bit about that in the second half. But as we move deeper into trust, we actually hear Jesus telling you that this mythical me called Dove is not who I am or what I am. And sometimes that's not easy, certainly not for the ego. So what do you mean it's not who I am? I got a body, don't I? Well, That's why 23 times in the course, he says, I am not a body. I am free. I am still as God created me. And I think there's one other rung that I like to bring in. And can you run that slide on the medicine woman at this point? And whether the slide, the slide that Rosalyn is giving you comes from Instagram. So you might see something other than what she wrote. But even if, okay, there it is.
No,
thank you so much. Thank you.
Are you seeing it?
Yes, I see it perfectly. Yeah.
Oh, good.
I think that everyone can see it. Okay. A medicine woman's prayer is, I will not rescue you, for you are not powerless. I will not fix you, for you are not broken. I will not heal you, for I see you in your wholeness. I will walk with you through the darkness as you remember your light. And I just posted that today on Instagram. I didn't come up with that. Came up from somebody on Instagram called Loftan. Thank you so much, Rosin. You can take that down. Now, Jesus says the same thing in the Course, specifically in chapter 11, section 6, where he literally says, that's the section where he actually, hi, Diane. He actually says in chapter 11, section 6, which is called Waking to Your Redemption. He says, teach not that I died in vain, rather teach that I did not die at all by demonstrating that I live in you. And if I live in you now, you are awake now. And you can do miracles, and I can do miracles through you because your mind is one with my own. And then he tells you in paragraph 10, the same thing that the medicine woman just said. God's son is saved, doesn't need saving. He says, teach only this, and you have a role in teaching equal to my own. And the truth is, that's the only way to teach the Course in Miracles. You're not telling somebody what they need to do or what they should do or any of the concepts. We look at each other as ourself, our whole, innocent, complete, perfect self, because that is what we are. In that last what is question, that what am I, between lesson 350 and 351, he says, what am I? I'm God's son, whole, healed, equal, innocent, and complete. That is the truth. The concepts seem to support it, but the ego loves concepts too. To experience it, we're given relationships in our life. And sometimes it's easy to see the Jesus in our life. You know, they seem to shine and there's a lot of light and we're so happy to be around them. But as Ken Wapnick said, don't hang out with people that you feel very comfortable with. Hang out where there's a little discomfort, because that's where you learn your lessons. That's what we're coming here for. And we're really learning the same lessons that we've always learned, basically, except that we made the wrong choices. We kind of made some people more special than others. If you make anybody special, that's basically the ego's way of looking at relationships. So in the second half of this, I'm going to talk a little about the real growth, the real awakening in this course comes from something that I used to do a long time ago on Tuesday nights. I know Kathy Jones was with me during most of those times, and I really enjoy doing it because that is what this course is about. The course is, I have a card that says, be grateful for your triggers because they reveal your underlying hidden beliefs. And it's those hidden beliefs, those hidden lies that actually causes the upsets. But guess what? Upsets are good. They really are good because they give you a chance to look at what's going on underneath. Socrates, Plato, they said, an unexamined life is not even worth living. So the only reason that these lessons come about is to examine what it is in which we made an earlier mistake, and now we can make a better choice. We'll talk about that in the second half. Right now, I'd like to turn this mic on over to you, Rosalyn.
All right.
And Rosalyn has something for us all. Thank you so much.
Yes. Yes. I wanted to just make a few comments, actually, while I'm screen sharing and finding what I want to find. Now, are you seeing the rope now?
Yes.
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 So this is becoming my favorite theme. Dove just talked to us about trust, and that's his favorite, one of his many favorite themes to speak of. And trust for me is huge. And the synonym for trust for me is a belief in separation. And this symbolizes for me our own belief in separation. Now, words are limiting because words speak of duality, as though there's a you and a me. And so we're always reinforcing with our language that there are two of us. But if we look at this slide and we take what Dove did for us, and he told us that his first letter was peace. Well, this being has his head somehow separated from even his body. He's kind of disembodied because he's created this struggle. That's the knot in the rope. Thank you, Dove, for your former slide. And what's on the other end is how we can realize what Dove was speaking with us about, how we can make it our own experience. The course is not meant to be concepts. It's there for us to realize the truth in our own lives. And for me, this is always an entry point to freedom, to the oneness, because I notice if I have anything on the other end of this rope and I'm doing tug of war with anything, it doesn't matter if it's little, like the jar won't open, or somebody speaking too loudly wherever, or it's a death, so-called, of someone. It's all the same. If we fight what is, 100% of the time we lose. And what do we lose? We lose that sense of peace. We lose the oneness. We lose. What we gain is a belief in separation. We cement this. Somebody's just arriving. We cement that belief in separation by the tug of war. So now I'm going to stop sharing. And if you would start with wherever you've had a tug of war, preferably recently, preferably today. But if you have a major theme going on in your life, like Diane so kindly shared with us and so bravely last week, she shared something that's been repetitive for her. You can do the same, because luckily, this is the truth. It might seem like we have a million triggers, but they have only a few themes. So luckily, it's your husband, it's your partner, it's your wife, it's your friend, it's your work, it's your body. And it shows up like, if it weren't for that, if it weren't for this unfinished business with that person, and so on. You get what I mean. So that's our opportunity to notice the tug of war. So if you would start with your tug of war and just give it a number today, that's just something I like to do. And if I forget at the end of the meditation, would you visit that tug of war again and see what the number is? So If you would join me, if you'd like to place your hand on your heart, that's fine. It's not necessary. I'm given the idea right now that we are not made of matter, which most of us have to believe if we're believing in separation. That's like when the world believed, the culture believed the world was flat. And we taught it to our children, and guess what? They believed it. And that's the same thing that happened to us. But guess what? We're made mostly of water. And yet that water and that energy that science shows that we're made of is not experienced by us. So right away, we're being taught by science and by our own belief in science, if we do, that we're not the best concluders of the truth. And that openness brings us to the place that the Course is asking us to go when it says, be like little children. And the Bible says that as well. Go to you don't know anything, because the Course shows us in those first lessons that we make up everything we believe and everything we see. So we're starting from that place of water and light inside us, and we're flowing and we're moving with that light that is the truth of us. And it's in the back and it's in the front, and we're flowing along with the waters. And what if that tug of war was just a wave in the ocean? And that little wave had the belief that it was separate. But that wouldn't make it true. That would just alter the wave's experience. But the wave is still part of the ocean. And let's move outside our bodies today, out of any limb that you would like, your feet, your arms, your head, and go into the room that's outside you. And from the room outside you, go out into the air outside that. And join the light and join the air. And if it looks dark where you are outside, know that the light, that the dark is just covering the light, as the Course says. And if there are clouds, the clouds are just covering the blue sky. And we are one being. What would that feel like? It would feel like we right now can't find the edges of our bodies and the air in the room and the air outside and the planets and the earth. And do you know that's very concrete with trees? I went to the Redwoods last year and I asked the park person, how old is that tree? And he explained to me that you can't tell one tree from another when you get down to the roots. And that's us. We see through the eyes of our beliefs. But luckily, we have the opportunity to choose again and say, as Raft said when he was joining us tonight, it's not the real world. I claim this world that I am inhabiting right now. And there's something else about our experience when we enter this way. There's a neutrality. And you can be in this space and still move. So raise your hand if you have an experience without opinion of neutrality in this space. Can you raise your hand while you stay in that space? It's very good to know that you can move and speak and respond from this space. This is the same space that you know when your car is driven and you didn't remember driving there. And every night before you go to sleep, you know you're not asleep yet and you're not awake. And there's a knowing that has no opinions. It is so neutral. And that, I believe, is infinite intelligence. And it's always accessible. And what else could this infinite intelligence be called but God? And God is what we are because there are no boundaries, just like the trees. And it's okay that we look different because we're localizations of God. We're like the different flowers, but the flowers are all plants, and the plants are all part of the plant world, and the plant world is all part of nature. And we breathe, and they breathe, and we're interreacting. I think I just made up a word. And so, with the gratitude of the experience, that we can have at any moment, in any millisecond. Let's come back to the room with soft eyes, in the knowing that we are the trees. We look separate, but we are rooted in each other, in the beloved, in the one life, in eternity, in the oneness. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosalyn. You can stay where you are if you want, but if you want to come back into the room, please do. As Rosalyn was sharing, I had a couple of pictures that were given to me. I kind of see myself as Rosalyn and I are like the perfect harmonious couple. I'm kind of left brain, and Rosalyn is definitely right brain. For those who appreciate the right brain way of looking at things, it just carries you, and there's no limits. And left brain, you talk about things in pictures, and for instance, when she was talking about there's no edges, I'm seeing Pima Chodron saying, "You are the sky, and everything else is the weather."
Yes.
Keep your mind in the sky where there are no edges.
That's so beautiful. And the weather is the tug of war.
Yeah, exactly. Now I want to speak about the tug of war too, because I know that's one of your favorite slides, and the tug of war for me is really what the Course in Miracles is about. The Course is really about letting go of the past. That's what the holy instant is. You can only recognize your brother as the Christ in the holy instant, because in the holy instant, there are no judgments, because judgments exist only in the past. Let me see if I could put this up on the chat. You can look at it, but I'll read it anyway. This comes from the chapter 15. I forgot which section. It's called the Holy Instant and your holy relationships. And this is what he says. This is a very famous couple sentences. The necessary condition for the holy instant does not require that you have no thoughts that are not pure, but it does require that you have none that you would keep Very important. So he's not telling you empty your mind of everything before you're ready for the holy instant to remember the truth of what you are. But he's saying, don't hold on to anything that you have an investment in, that you believe to be true. And so, I can't go along with this. Well, that's the ego. The ego is always in resistance. Ego resists, spirit accepts. And for me, the word acceptance is the exact same as forgiveness. There's that famous paragraph 18 in lesson 135. He says, what can you not accept if you but knew that everything that seems to happen, all events, past, present, and even to come, are gently planned for you by one whose only purpose is your good. So all that's necessary is a willingness to let go of the past. The past is where all the judgments are. And judgments is just another word for sacrifice. And he tells you that sacrifice is the one idea behind all the world's pain and suffering. In that thing I did a little bit earlier on the medicine worry, maybe I can bring it up again on my thing. She says, I will not rescue you, for you are not powerless. Okay, let's stop there. I will not rescue you, for you are not powerless. Now, okay, thank you for putting it up there. I'm just going to stop there so you can take it down at this moment. Jesus says the exact same thing in the last unanswered question, chapter 21, section 7. I always like when Jesus says the last or the ultimate or whatever it is. So you say, hey, he's telling you to listen. And that first sentence in the last unanswered question, he says, hey, brother, can you not see that all of your misery, I mean, all, 100% of all your pain and all your suffering comes from your strange belief? Again, with the word belief, your strange belief that you, and I always say he's laughing when he says this, that you, the Holy Son of God, is powerless, helpless, a victim, unfairly treated. And then he goes on to tell you, well, you want to be unfairly treated because you denied the truth. That's why, for me, this course is about trusting the truth, because there's nothing else that you can possibly want to trust. There's only the truth is true and nothing else is true. What else am I going to trust in? So the ego says, well, yeah, Dub, what do you call the truth? Is your truth my truth? No. Truth is when we are willing to step back and say, I do not know what anything is for. Your willingness, and all that's asked of you is a little willingness. Your understanding is not necessary. He tells you that in chapter 18, section 4, a little willingness. Only your willingness is necessary. I was listening to David Hoffmeister the other day. He says your only contribution in all of this is willingness. And willingness is such a biggie, because what you're doing is you're remembering that your will and God's will is the same will. God's will for me is perfect happiness. And he tells you, do you want to be right? Which means you want to resist and say, no, I'm going to do it my way. I don't care what the course says. I have my own way of doing it. No, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Choose one, for you can't have both. He says it, I think, a couple of times. The ego only wants to be right. It doesn't care about your happiness at all. It wants to be right because that's how it survives. To see others as wrong. Others are to blame. It's been a victim unfairly treated because others are doing it to you. but there are no others. Isn't that a line of the Course in Beyond the Body? There's nothing outside of you. This is what you must ultimately learn. And as John Mundy says, what do you think the word ultimately means? Now, what am I going to learn? There's nothing outside of me. We are one. But in the ego's mind that sees you as guilty because you're in a body separate from, obviously, God's not here with you, sees you as guilty, but the way the ego works the mind kind of reminds me of another word that came into being during the Olympics. It was a name, Simone Biel. She used the word twisted. She says, when you're up in the air and you're upside down, you can't tell what's up and what's down. This world, as the Course says, is upside down. And yes, we did get disoriented because we forgot that when we see something outside of us, it's just our mind projecting it out there. Projection makes perception. Those three words, which is the first three words in chapter 21 in the introduction. I've been saying this for many, many years now. Until you get to chapter 21, projection makes perception. A lot of the Course doesn't make sense. But I'm always speaking about myself. It looks like I'm speaking about somebody else. But here's the kicker. Here's the thing to remember. You ask that person to come into your life to say those things, to do those things, to make you feel less than, so you can get to be right, that you're a victim. Notice in Responsibility for Sight, which is also in chapter 21, section 2, he says, everything that seems to happen, I have asked for and I have received like I have asked. And then he says, deceive yourself no longer that you're helpless in face of what is done to you. Acknowledge that you have been mistaken and all effects of your mistakes will disappear. That's what I basically teach, is that whenever something happens that you don't like, you feel uncomfortable, somebody's pushing your buttons, it looks a little stormy, it seems to be dark out there, and you're trying to find some shelter, some safety, and you open up the Course in Miracles book. I'm trying to find something that's going to help me. Well, actually, the only thing you need to do is to let go of the past, which is your past judgments. I like to say, like I said earlier, that the real part of this Course, as Ken Wapnick says, is not learning anything. It's about unlearning. This Course is not about positive things. It's about removing all the negative thoughts I have in my mind. And you notice those negative thoughts simply when a brother or a sister says something that you don't like, and you feel upset and angry, and you feel that you want to react. And that's the one thing that makes the ego right. It reacts. My willingness to say, I do not know what this is for. Lesson 25, that's my mantra lesson. I don't know what this is for. And you turn to the Holy Spirit and ask, what is this for? I don't know. Now, the Holy Spirit knows that you're really speaking about yourself. There's only one self. And the word forgiveness in Course terms is not the forgiveness where I forgive my brother for what he has not done or she has not done. I'm forgiving the thought in my mind that I am being reminded of, that I made as a judgment a long time ago, and keeps coming back lifetime after lifetime. And I like to read.
Dev, will you, after you read what you're going to read, let's leave some time for people to hear, okay?
Oh, it's 7:43, yeah. I like to read from Choose Once Again, paragraph 3. It says, The world is the classroom, and you're here to learn lessons. These lessons are called trials. Trials are about lessons that you failed to learn, presented once again. So where you made a faulty choice before, you now can make a better one and thus escape all pain that what you chose before has brought to you. So if I feel any pain or suffering, it's because I made a faulty choice in the past. And those same lessons are presented to me maybe through different people. If you block somebody and say, I don't want to deal with you anymore, I promise you it's going to come up again in a different person because the lesson is left unlearned. As Pema Chodron says, no lesson leaves you until it's fully learned. The course is saying the exact same thing. This is a required course. Only the time that you take it is voluntary. You want to take it now? Take it now. You want to take it later, next lifetime? That's up to you. And then he says, delay in eternity? That's nothing. Delay in time? That's tragic. I always say, Jesus, what do you mean by tragic? Okay, with that, and of course, I always say, you got to laugh because if you take any of this stuff seriously, you're right back in the ego thought system. I always say, laughter now will save you lifetimes later, truly. Rosalind, I'll turn the mic over to you.
Yeah, I would like to turn the mic over to our group. And I'm not sure where you would like to start. If there's something in what Dove said that is a block to how do we actually implement that idea, or if it's something about what's your tug of war. I do know that whatever we keep as secrets is what we're still feeling not good enough about, and that's what keeps us in the loop. So I could even start with Diane. You shared greatly last week. Did you feel some relief by sharing and having that not be your secret and so on? Could you say how that was for you?
Yeah, thanks, Rosalyn. Yeah, it was freeing to be able to just say it, and also say it with a community that I didn't feel was going to judge me, and that helps me to judge myself less, and to just be, having had that experience, to feel that yes, I can be more open, because I do tend to be a reserved person, and it takes me a long time to get to know somebody, and then I will open up. That's my pattern in the past, and it is the pattern I'd like to change, to be able to be more open and free with who I am, and to feel free of others' judgments, and more importantly, my own judgments toward myself.
Very good. Thank you, Diane.
Thank you, Diane. That was beautiful. And if anybody wants to listen on the replay, it was a beautiful, beautiful experience to be with you in that. And that's what 12-step groups are about, in the sense that why do people get better? They stop having these secrets. The Course talks about whatever you would keep a secret is what you need to let go of and share if you want a resolution. Would anybody like to share either their number, how the numbers might have changed, or what's on the other end of your tug of war? You don't need to tell us the whole story unless you would care to. But you could say, what's on the other end of the tug of war for me is my body, or time, or unfinished business with someone. I would really love for the group to, anybody to raise your hand if you would like to share it. Thank you, Lynn.
Namaste, mighty companions. I had a revelation a few days ago, and it really blew me away. I'm so grateful for it. I couldn't understand why, in groups, I felt people didn't like me. And I knew that wasn't true. Still, and it kind of came to me that there was something I've had shame about all my life that I wouldn't even admit to myself. And I pushed the pain down. It was when I was younger, I was bullied. For many years, I was bullied. And I had that childhood shame that, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? And I am so grateful that it's out in the open. I wrote a little poem about it, if you'd like to hear.
Please share. Thank you.
I call it Tears. Hints of pain I pushed away, shame ignored until now. At Lion's Gate, a door is open. Through grief, I will step through. Self welcomes all that is. I feel so much, oh my God, it's a loving community that, oh, thank God.
Yes, yes. Wow. Raise your hand if you were bullied as a child. Okay, keep your hands up. Raise your hand if you felt different. Keep your hand up. Raise your hand if you felt wrong and like you didn't fit in and like you wanted to. I mean, look, that's almost everybody's experience. And yet we always think we're the only ones. There's a 12-step saying, don't compare your insides to someone else's outsides. We make up stories about ourselves and we make up stories about other people. Thank you, Lynn. That's so beautiful. Thank you for trusting us.
Thank you, Lynn.
Anybody else want to share how your number changed or what's on the other end of your rope? You can just name the subject.
I just want to second Dove's emotion that, this is all pretty damn funny. And there was one sentence and I tried to, I don't know where I found it. It was in the course that said, what made you think that you could create another will? I mean, where did you get that stupid idea? And that is hilarious, really. And so I very much, appreciate what Dove is saying. I say, we listen to the course every day on YouTube with somebody's reading it who's a very good reader, but he has sort of a radio announcer voice. And he's kind of solemn. And I think it should really be read by Gilbert Gottfried. And, that really should be read with somebody, a comedian, because it's really a huge joke. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the silly, tiny, mad idea. And you can put, I bet you Dove knows how many words are in the course. However many words are in the course. They'll all just say the one thing, So anyway, that's
that's beautiful. Yeah,
what Dove said. Thank you.
Yes.
I just put up in the chat what Ken Wapnick says. This is his commentary on today's lesson 222, which basically says the same thing that we were just saying. He says, we do not want, I put it in the chat if you want to see it. We do not want to bring the light into the darkness, but the darkness of our false identity, which is our self that we thought we were. Like Lynn said, I was ashamed, I was bullied, and I thought that that's who I am. And she said, I always thought people didn't like me, but I now know that that's not true. But we bring the things that are underneath. When somebody pushes our button, we can do one of two things. We can either react and be angry and upset, or what Sigmund Freud said, fight or flight. Either I'm going to punch the guy back, kick him, or run away or block him or something like that. But that just keeps the guilt over here because I think it's true. So whenever you react to anything in this world, anything at all, basically the ego is in charge of your mind. So as Ken then says, we don't bring the light into the dark. We bring the dark of our false identity to the light of who we truly are as Christ. And that's what Rosalyn and I do. Like Rosalyn does consulting, counseling. I do the same thing. If anyone would like to do on a one-to-one, I always do. My first session is always free. and I'll let Rosalyn say, but if you want to go really deeper than what we're saying here, take a look at something that really bothers you, that really oppresses you, where you feel that you're unfairly treated. And recently, a lot of people in the course, by the way, course people have been feeling unfairly treated because they have chosen, like half the country, not to vaccinate, but they feel that the country is now telling them that they're being oppressed. And I know that people who seem to be very peaceful in most of their teachings get very emotional about how dare they. I thought this was a free country, and now they're telling me it's not free. So it doesn't have to be something like that, but I know there's something that brings your emotions to being upset and angry. That's the one that you want to look at, because underneath that is the release valve, because it was just a judgment that I made about myself or about another that stays in force, almost like a concrete coffin that I am laid in and I can't get out of. That's why when, like Carl Jung, Freud's student, said, those who keep looking outside of them for answers, they just want to sleep. Those who look within, they want to wake up. This course is all about waking up, becoming the truth of what you are. That's why the last what is question is, who am I? I'm God's holy son, healed, holy, innocent, perfect, and complete in every way. And so is my brother, the same. But if you think one brother's a little bit worse than you or better than you, or something, that's inequality. And he tells you in the Course in Miracles, yes, peace is the key to the kingdom, but it has one condition: equality. You must be willing to see your brother as yourself. And who is Jesus? But a man who saw the face of Christ in all that he met, and he remembered God. Today's lesson is God moves within me, and I share God's will. That's today's lesson 222. So with that, does anyone have any thoughts at all? We have another 5 minutes. And I know that I did ask Pat to play that song, which will take a couple of minutes. Anyone want to share anything at all?
I do. I
Thank
would
you,
like,
John.
yeah, I'd like to jump in quickly, because I really like that part where I got reminded about secrets, and also to say, Rosalyn, that mine went down from a 9 to an 8. So I don't know where the my story is. And just to be brief, I have a story about my body, and mainly it revolves around gender issues and the stuff that I can't let go of, that I don't seem to want to let go of, and it's ongoing, and I would say it's about my desires and that kind of stuff. So, and I feel like Lynn says, I feel shameful, but I think it's lurking around there all the time, lurking around. And I would use that lurking shame that I carry with me as a burden. That's the end of my rope. That's on the end of my rope. And so I'm just letting you know that by exposing it and letting you know that I got my knot tied there. So, and I hope that maybe comes down, brings my number down. But anyway, I wanted to participate as well. And
I really appreciate your honesty and your willingness, the huge willingness to share that. And I know that you listened to Rupert and were a non-dual student as well as a Course in Miracles student. And so I invite you to do something different this week, which is really to do nothing to change that. Nothing, just like the don't touch it, really apply that. I need do nothing is also in A Course in Miracles. It's the I and the nothing. And if you just had a different, allow it to show you a different experience of friendliness and bring it on without the judgment. And if you judge it, allow the judgment. And just come back next week and tell us how that experience went. And if it doesn't bring the results, and we're not trying to get rid of it, we're just trying to have freedom with it, then what's on the other end of the rope is judgment, not the desires, not the issues, but the judgment of them. So since it's the end of the hour, and I know Dove shares his Zoom account with, you have to, Dove, you want to speak?
Yeah, I wanted to say thank you so much, Rosalyn, for bringing up I need do nothing. I need do nothing in chapter 18, section 7. He actually says these 4 words will save you a century of time in meditating and contemplating and trying to solve problems. I need do nothing. That's the release. That's the letting go. The ego always wants to do something. It wants to react. So, John, come back next week and let's take a look at how to, you look at it and you say, oh, that's what I used to react to. And that's when you can start laughing at it. I used to think that was real. And it's not.
Already we're loving on your desires. Already. Yeah. Every one of them, whatever they are, we're loving on you as you are. No change is necessary. Do you want to play your song, Pat?
Pat, can you play the song
before
first?
You do the song, Dove? Rosalyn, next week, can you show me where I can find a copy of that prayer? Next week is fine.
Which prayer? Which prayer is that?
Medicine wheel.
Oh, I can.
I can send it to you.
Okay. You have his email?
No, I don't have your email.
So
type it in the chat. I'll send it to you.
I don't type that fast. I'll type it in next week.
Okay.
I think I have your email, Rico, so I will send it to you.
Thank you, Rosalyn.
All right.
I'll send it to you. All right.
I'm hoping this is going to play when I press the button. Here it comes.
Very good.
I think first and foremost, we
got to get a stupid ad first.
to concede that we're dealing with.
Here we go. Got it?
I let go of my judgments, let go of my fears, let go of my chains, and I am free. I become one of God's children. I feel His love for me. I have been given everything I need. Love is the way. Love is the way. Love is the way. I walk in gratitude. Love is the way. I see the light in you. Love is the way. I walk in gratitude. I reach out to my brothers, reach out to forgive, reach out for help to understand. There's just one way to heaven, you can't get in alone. We have to walk and sing hand in hand. Love is the way, 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 love is the way. I walk in gratitude. Love is the way, love is the way. I see the light in you. Love is the way. I walk in gratitude. Love is the way, 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 love is the way. I walk in gratitude. Love is the way, love is the way. I see the light in you. Love is the way. I walk in gratitude.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Everybody.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Pete. Love you.
Thank you for being here.
Mwah.
Mwah.
See you all next week. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.